Hey again everyone, this is the meta breakdown part 2, and we're doing this series to help some of our new players get caught up on figures that they haven't seen. Since January we've added a dozen new players to our group, and this is just meant to be a quick run through of everything so that come states they feel a little bit more prepared and have an idea of what's to be expected. Alright, so the next figure in our lineup is Cosmic Spider-Man, the big other super rare from the What If series. And the big thing about Cosmic Spider-Man is he has improved targeting, ignores hindering terrain, ignores elevated terrain, ignores blocking terrain. When a ranged combat attack resolves any blocking terrain along its line of fire to the target is destroyed. And you will see him probably on his 75-point dial as a call-in. Him and Nick Fury, him and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Hulk are big call-ins right now because of the Green Lantern super rare from Joker's Wild. These figures allow you to bust through the blocking terrain, his barrier that he puts up, and it's a great versatile figure. Cosmic Spider-Man I think you'll see more often than the Hulk, just because that way you have that level 7 ID that you can use for the Hawkeye or for the Nick Fury. But as far as Cosmic Spider-Man goes, he's 4 clicks long, he has sidestep, flight, penetrating psychic blast, and invulnerability. He has the power cosmic team ability, and he has the Spider-Man team ability, making him a wild card that he can grab onto someone else's team ability. Great figure. Expect to see him on most competitive teams as a call-in character. Okay, the next big thing, literally, that we haven't covered with our new players are Colossals and Colossal Retaliation. So, kind of started last year with the Superman Wonder Woman set. We ended up getting Colossals that had low point dials that you could use in regular matches. So, one of the ones that we're seeing right now is the Skyscraper Wonder Woman. And for 15 points, this figure does a lot. Let's go ahead and lay out what some of those things are. First, it has improved movement, ignores blocking terrain, and destroys blocking terrain as the character moves through it. It has magnetic skin, has a speed power. The Skyscraper Wonder Woman can use plasticity and sidestep. When an adjacent opposing character fails a breakaway, after action is resolved, give it an action token. If you can't, deal it 1 unavoidable damage. Okay, and the big important one is Colossal Retaliation. Bury you in sand. Give the Skyscraper Wonder Woman a free action if no other Colossal Retaliation power has been activated this turn, and choose an opposing character that attacked the Skyscraper Wonder Woman or damaged a friendly character since your last turn. Let me pause right there and give an explanation. If you attack a Colossal, whether you hit or miss, they can activate their Colossal Retaliation. If you damage a friendly character to the Colossal, whether it's through an attack, mystic, team ability, or poison, it will trigger a Colossal coming at you next turn. So continue on with her effect. Place the Skyscraper Wonder Woman such that it can make a close attack targeting the chosen character and also target all other characters within 2 squares of the target. Hit characters are each dealt 3 damage instead of normal damage and can't move or be placed or make range attacks during their next turns. Huge effect there. Hit characters are each dealt 3 damage instead of normal damage and can't move or be placed or make range attacks during their next turns. Huge effect on this thing. And for 15 points, it's a strong competitor to the Atom Colossal. Colossal Indifference. Stop. The Skyscraper Wonder Woman can use toughness. If the Skyscraper Wonder Woman began the game on a 15-point starting line, she can't attack smaller characters except via Colossal Retaliation. Let me go ahead and clarify again. These Colossals cannot attack regular figures unless you trigger their Colossal Retaliation by either attacking them or damaging a friendly character. And remember, a figure is always friendly to itself. Another thing to note, because we had some teams last year that consisted of many Colossals on their low point dials. Players thought that they would run up and pulse wave for 1 damage each and take these things out. That does not work. First, the stop click ignores pulse waves ignore feature. Anything that's on a stop click cannot be ignored. So that toughness that would reduce damage by 1 knocks out pulse waves 1 damage if you hit multiple targets. If you run up and pulse wave one of these things individually, you can KO it just fine. But if you have more than one target, that toughness is going to protect it. And that was a nasty surprise for some people. The next Colossal that you're going to see a lot is the Atom. Now, you'll see the Atom on regular teams as a regular figure at 15 points apiece because he was a great Colossal last year, and he became more popular with the Quinjet. You can use an ID card to call this guy out, and even though he wasn't on the board when you might have damaged a friendly character to him, he can then activate his Colossal Retaliation and do something. But remember, if he leaves that 5 square range or whatever it is from the character who called him in, he goes away. So using the ID card, he cannot jump from one side of the map and attack you. He's got to be within that area. So let's go ahead and cover his Atomic Punch. Give the Atom a free action if no other Colossal Retaliation power has been activated this turn, and choose an opposing character that attacked the Atom or damaged a friendly character since your last turn. Place the Atom such that he can make a close combat attack targeting the chosen character, then do so with an area of effect that includes all other characters within 2 squares of the target. Opposing characters can use combat reflexes, shape change, or super senses for this attack. Hit characters are each dealt 2 penetrating damage instead of normal damage. Okay, so very similar to the new Dormammu that came out. He ignores combat reflexes, shape change, super senses, except it says opposing characters. So you can still use your own defense powers against this attack. And the fact that he does penetrating damage is just icing. So other things that make this guy great. He's got a sidestep. He's got empower, so anyone adjacent to him can get a little oomph on their attack. He has an 11 attack, so he's going to be swinging pretty strong. Okay, so this Green Lantern from Joker's Wild, this super rare, is part of the JSA team. The JSA team ability, let me go over that real quick, is pretty much just defend for other characters with the JSA team ability. So you could run this guy with Jakeem Thunder, and he could, a simpler time, for example. Once per turn for all characters with this trait, if a character uses JSA team ability to replace its defense value with Green Lanterns, also modify that character's defense value by +1 against range attacks. Okay, so for example, Jakeem, if he was like low dial or something, he could replace his defense with this Green Lanterns if it was like top dial, and it would give him another +1 against range attacks. Not very important, but situationally helpful. The main reason why this guy shows up on people's teams is he's indomitable, he's a flyer, 7 range, 3 clicks of damage, 35 points, and his trait, Green Lantern's Light. Once per turn, Green Lantern can use Barrier. He can use it as a free action, but only to place 1 barrier marker. Alright, so huge thing with Barrier is anytime you have a figure that can do Barrier as a free action, they will be fantastic. When he uses Barrier, he may substitute 1 barrier marker that he would place with the light wall marker and place it in a character square within range, positioning one side along an edge. This marker acts as a wall. Okay, so instead of using a regular barrier, you can instead put out this light wall marker that he comes with, and you can set it to where only one side of the square functions as a wall versus that entire square being blocking terrain. If you place the light wall marker, it is removed at the beginning of your next turn, and it has the unique modifier. Opposing characters adjacent to any of his light wall or barrier markers can use stealth and modify their defense values by -1. So that's also fantastic. Now remember, you gotta drop it in clear terrain, but if you place it adjacent to a character, they can't use stealth and modify their defense values by -1. You'll be seeing him a lot, but at the same time, you'll be seeing Cosmic Spider-Man and the Shield Hulk to bust through his barrier. Okay, so this sick little joke right here is Bizarro Green Arrow. You'll hear him called Bizarro a lot. He's 50 points, he has top dollar sidestep, 11 attack, 17 invulnerability, 1 damage, 0 range. He is a joke about range attacks, but it's his powers that are the important thing, of course. Me, the world's greatest archery target. When an adjacent friendly character would be targeted by a ranged attack, Bizarro Green Arrow becomes the target instead, even if he would be an illegal target. So let me go ahead and clarify this real quick. Any character that is adjacent to him that would be targeted as with a range attack, that target now becomes Bizarro. You don't choose it, it's an automatic effect. That's where some people are getting confused. His defense down dial is stop clicks. Bizarro Green Arrow can use toughness. He has 2 of those. He has damage power, Bizarro range combat expert. When Bizarro Green Arrow is the target of a ranged combat attack, you may give Bizarro Green Arrow an action token to modify the attacker's attack value by -2, its damage value by -2, or both combat values by -1. So you'll see this guy ran with Jakeem Thunders, Goblin Kings, anything that would be like a one-man army, because for 50 points, this guy adds extra clicks to their life. If you're going after Jakeem and you have a 4 damage, like with a Goblin King, for example, you go to shoot Jakeem, this guy triggers. If he's top dial and you don't have Penetrating Psychic Blaster or something else, or even a Precision Strike, he's going to take an action token to drop your damage by 2, so you'll be hitting this guy who has invulnerability with 2 damage. No damage to this guy. He's great for like soaking up that damage and distracting the opponent. So, I mean, against a skilled player, if he doesn't take him out outright, you're looking at maybe 3 extra clicks of life added to your one-man army style figure. Fantastic piece. What people are doing now to kind of mitigate him, though, is they're running level 7 ID with Chase Hawkeye, the one we covered earlier. Because when he targets, say if you had Goblin King, Jakeem, and Joker, if he targets one of those characters, normally he would attack, and if he hit, get to attack another character. If he hits, get to attack another character. He wouldn't be able to target those characters repeatedly. You have to target each one. But with this character, Bizarro Green Arrow, he becomes the target, even if it were to be illegal. So he can target Joker, and if Joker's adjacent to Green Arrow becomes the target. And he can still target Joker because Joker wasn't attacked, and Green Arrow becomes the target again. And then he attacks the Joker again, and the chain just continues. And that's how you can take out Bizarro Green Arrow. It's just using the level 7 Hawkeye ID and attacking over and over and over again. So that's one reason why you're seeing him. These ID cards this go around are counters mostly. You have Cosmic Spider-Man for the Green Lantern, and now you have Chase Hawkeye to take out Green Arrow. Bizarro Green Arrow. Okay, so Overdrive is another figure that's kind of like in this group of figures that we need to talk about called taxis or transporters. This guy's got one purpose, and that is to move the whole team up and do an alpha strike. He himself is not that important. It's what he does. He produces a pog that lets you move your characters up. But just go ahead and give you a breakdown. He has top dial, energy shield, deflection. He has empower, and he has sidestep. His traits are superior to the other guys. Once per turn for all characters with this trait, if a character uses the Sinister Syndicate team ability to replace their attack values with Overdrive, that character can use sidestep this turn. Now you see this guy ran with the LE Doc Ock a lot, so that's one thing. But the big one is the world is my getaway vehicle. Give Overdrive a free action. When he is adjacent to a standard object, remove that object from the game and place a charged up bystander in that square if none are on the map. Now let's go ahead and go over the charged up bystander, because that's the important part. The charged up bystander is a vehicle that only Overdrive can pilot. It has a sidestep of 11, so that means it can move 2 squares as a free action, and then 11 more as its action. It has a toughness of 18, no attack, no damage, but the fact that it can carry up to 4 characters is fantastic. You're talking about carrying up, Dr. Octopuses or clearing the Witch Boys or anything that can get in those extra attacks. And what you're seeing now is the Chase Sam Captain America being ran with Overdrive to give him, I think, +3 movement. So you're looking at, 2 sidestep, 11 regular movement for 13, and then +3 for a 16. And then that Captain America can do a regular action after being moved. So, it gets placed in the 17th square and then does a charge for, I think, 4. So maybe 21 range swing to attack somebody. That is clearly a great alpha strike. So how do you mitigate this guy? How do you stop all this from happening? Well, there's 2 ways. Quickly, you can run a character called Mr. Nobody who lets you place your opponent's objects. And why would you do that? That's like a 55-point figure that has basically an outwit that just switches up powers. That's all he's got. And then being able to place your opponent's objects. Well, you take away all of his objects that he would turn into a vehicle, so they've wasted 35 points for a figure that doesn't matter. But you also can take their symbiote or their weapon drop or anything special that they bring on with their team, and you could instead use it yourself. The other thing that's starting to worry people is the new super rare Elijah Snow, who turns the map into hindering terrain. That will slow down Overdrive. People are trying to mitigate that fact with the new boxing ring. Overdrive will bring all the characters to the boxing ring. That way they get opponents attacking characters inside the ring will get -2 attack. So it kind of protects them, and then he can haul butt out of the ring on the next turn. But I think we're going to see a drop in Overdrive in the charged up token. Okay, talking about alpha strikes though, this is where we get into important stuff that was dominating last year. Dr. Octopus from the LE Dr. Octopus. He is a dangerous character. Let's go ahead and go through his stats. All right, first, top dial, he has plasticity, has a 10 attack, he has willpower, and he has 3 damage outwit. He has improved movement, ignores elevated terrain, he's 80 points, he has a Sinister Syndicate team ability, but it's his trait, the Arms of the Octopus, that make him the most dangerous. At the beginning of your turn, place up to 2 tentacle pair tokens on this card, maximum of 2. Modify Dr. Octopus' defense by +1 for every tentacle pair token on this card. Give Dr. Octopus a power action, remove 1 or 2 tentacle pair tokens from this card, and until your next turn, Dr. Octopus can use the Giant Reach ability, locks his damage value at his printed value, and can use Flurry once as a free action for each tentacle pair token you removed from this card. So what people were doing was, first they might actually put like a possessor on this guy to give him impervious, but other than that, they would use Overdrive or Vanisher and move up, and on turn 2 they would use his Arms of the Octopus, remove 2 tokens from usually 2 of these figures, and then move up into their opponent's team, and both of those Dr. Octopus would outwit characters' defenses, and then they would attack. So when you got one Dr. Octopus attacking with Flurry twice, that's 8 attacks, 3 damage each, and if he's outwitted a top dial power, more than likely if it was something like invulnerability, that will be there for the next couple of clicks, and then it'll be toughness. So he easily whittles down people. And then you've got a whole other Dr. Octopus to worry about doing the same thing. People are trying to get around this with pickup powers to give characters impervious the whole time, or if you can manage, if you can get these guys off top dial and you have a possessor like Eclipse or Brainiac, then their 2 damage won't scare you. But be prepared if you see Dr. Octopus and Overdrive or anything like that, they're going to come at you probably turn 2 and do a ton of attacks against you. After you get him whittled down off top dial, he's much easier to finish off. Clarion the Witch Boy is the other alpha striker that started to make it big. So let's go ahead and go through Zal real quick. real quick. He's 70 points cheaper than the Doc Ock. He has the Mystic's team ability. He has a special white power for speed. He has penetrating psychic blast. He has energy shield deflection, and he has probability control. His speed power is to blue rafters. Clarion the Witch Boy can use sidestep, stealth, and phasing teleport. So this character can be carried via Vanisher or Overdrive or any of the number of other taxis we have now. He can sidestep into stealth, and if he needs to run away, he has his own phasing teleport. Tikal the Dragacat. Tikal begins the game attached to Clarion the Witch Boy. When Tikal is attached, Clarion the Witch Boy can use super senses. Give Clarion the Witch Boy a free action and either place an attached Tikal adjacent or attach an adjacent friendly Tikal. So what this guy could do was you would run him up with Vanisher or Overdrive or another taxi, sidestep, and then place a Tikal, perplex up Tikal's attack or perplex down an opponent's defense, and have the Tikal's charge with Blade's Claws Fangs, essentially with an 11 attack, and go after opponents. Very effective alpha strike. I've taken down Nick Fury in one turn because of this. So the really great thing about the cat is that it is a regular sized character. It is not a tiny. So that way it's blocking your opponent from shooting at Clarion or your taxi. If they do manage to kill the Tikal via poison or just making an attack, that's okay. They were in there to get that alpha strike in and tie them up, because now they have to deal with a 19 defense Clarion because he's got energy shield deflection, he's attacking from range, or even better, if you're in stealth, they can't touch you unless they get into melee. He's got prob control. You'll probably use that prob control to make sure Tikal either hits or rolls for high damage. And nicely, he has penetrating psychic blast to make sure he cuts through those defenses. So if you were running two of these guys, you'd run up probably with an Outwitter and get rid of the defense power. You'll have Tikal go in for the attack, and if he rolls like a 2 for his damage, you have 2 probs sitting right there to make sure you do at least a 4. That's solid. 6 is even better. You're going to take out their big figure. You're going to hurt their support. Just a fantastic thing. I got second place in Louisiana running this kind of build, and I got first in Mississippi using it. Okay, so the next thing we need to cover are possessors. So back in the War of Light days, we had something called entities that were characters that had a 25-point dial that you could use on other figures. It would be like Parallax or Ion possessing a figure like Hal Jordan or Sinestro. And that's kind of continue on slowly as HeroClix has progressed. And we got 2 really good ones in the Superman Wonder Woman set last year. The first one was Eclipso. And the effect is really simple. At the beginning of your turn, or after the character is clicked, you may choose 1 power on the equipped dial and 1 combat value on the equipped dial, higher than this character's same printed combat value. This character can use that power and modifies that combat value by +1 to your next turn or click. So, quick rundown, if you have something like Nick Fury, and you have Eclipso equipped to Nick Fury, you get to pick a power from whichever click you're on. So if you're on top dial, you have Stealth, Precision Strike, Impervious, and Shape Change to choose from. Now, for the most part, someone would probably choose the Impervious. The next thing is you get to choose 1 stat that Eclipso has higher and boost his stat. So you have a 10 speed, 11 attack, 18 defense, 4 damage. Nick Fury has a 3 damage top dial. You would pick that 4 damage, and to make things even better, if he attacks the highest point figure on your opponent's team, he gets another point of damage. So that would make him a 5 damage. So that's how that works. Other things is he can increase his range if he needed to, but that's pretty much it. As Nick Fury would click down the dial, so if he got knocked down to click 3, you would then immediately click Eclipso to click 3, choose a new value to enhance, and a new power. So this was a way of making sure that you could keep strong powers all throughout a dial sometimes. And another thing, these are powers that you can use. They are not powers you possess. So right now, you cannot outwit anything that a possessor gives you. So if you have Impervious from Eclipso, your opponent cannot outwit that. Very similar to pick-up power figures like Goblin King and Jakeem. Brainiac was the other possessor, and I'll go ahead and mention him because he's starting to get a lot of play as well. You'll see him being ran on things like Iceman, the super rare from Uncanny X-Men, and Goblin King. Iceman because with a taxi, you can give him sidestep with this character, and he can start to lock down figures. You'll see him on Goblin King because down dial, he can give him Pulse Wave, or even better, the big effect that you want from Brainiac is World is running like clockwork. Once per turn, when an opposing character is given a power action, you may immediately remove an action token from Brainiac. So if someone were running 175 point Goblin King and they had 2 action tokens on them, as soon as you give one of your characters an action token, he removes an action token from Goblin King so he can move his next turn. And that really helps one-man army style builds. The last thing we need to cover are resources. Now, we haven't used resources at our venue in a very long time, and there's 2 big ones you're going to have to look out for. The first one is the Justice League Teleporter. Basically, this resource is something you just add to a team as a off-the-table kind of element. And for this one in particular, you stack it full of ID cards, and you get to use its traits and powers. So the first one is I can help right now. You may use an attached ID card's call and help ability. The second trait is I'm better suited for these foes. After revealing your force, but before placing characters in your starting area, you may replace a friendly character in your force with an ID character of equal or less points from your sideline, etc., etc. There's only 2 important things that you really need to know about this resource. 1, your opponent will roll a d6 and assign a character the resource for that turn. And whatever slot that d6 lands on, say Superman in slot 3, the Superman ID, I think it gives invincibility. That character will get that power for that turn. What people like to do is stack ID cards that give +2 attack, +1 damage, +1 damage on range attacks. So you'll see a teleporter full of those kinds of ID cards, and they'll designate like Goblin King as the character for the turn and roll the d6, and he'll get one of those powers. Another thing that I've seen that people are talking about is assigning it to Haha Joker, and you can change each character that you would assign it to each turn. You don't lock it down, so it won't always be assigned to Haha Joker. But you could say on your turn you assign it to Haha Joker, and you roll your d6, and I think it's the Swordsman and the Katana ID cards that both give Blades, Claws, Fangs. So now you have a Haha Joker that can like get in someone's grill and do 1d6 worth of damage, which is fantastic. The other thing to note is that as this thing clicks down from attacks and stuff, if it reaches its final click, which it never does unless it's a specialized team, if it reaches its final click, they can bring in a whole bunch of characters. Back in the day, it would be like King Thor, Red Sun Superman, all kinds of nasty stuff. Not such a concern today. It's mostly being used to give stat boosts, and people use the ID cards like Cosmic Spider-Man, Shield level 7, Booster Gold, things like that, Nightwing, to bring in the Zuko Pog so he can heal. So that's what you need to watch out for on this thing. Not a huge element to the game. It was never a real popular resource until now when we're so limited. The last resource that I would worry about is the Supreme Intelligence, and he's pretty much got one function. After your first turn, you get to click his dial if you want, and as you do attacks and stuff, you can click it more. But what most people are doing is they're attaching this figure to Goblin King or Jakeem Thunder, and they're clicking it once, and he gives Jakeem Thunder stealth and willpower. Jakeem Thunder was really lacking on willpower, so now you've got a Jakeem Thunder on the map that has stealth, willpower. He probably has Eclipso equipped to him, and he's picking a defense power like Impervious, so now that leaves him to pick his own powers, so he's always got room for Running Shot, Psychic Blast, or Pulse Wave. it really ramps up Jakeem's power and makes him well worth over 140 points. You're looking at another additional 37 points. So you have a figure that can do all that for 177 points. Fantastic. Okay, guys, thanks again for checking this out. Again, this was for some of our new players and giving them a rundown of things to watch out for. There's a ton more stuff that we would need to cover, but we don't have time for it with states coming up this weekend. If you like the video, go ahead and subscribe, leave us a comment, post some other things. If we got something wrong, let us know. If you've got helpful advice for new players, leave it in the comments. Let us know what else you want to hear about. We're thinking about doing more videos like this.